Hello, hello. How's everybody doing today? Oh, I better lower that. You guys might get a little bit of reverb. As I hope y'all have had a wonderful weekend. I know I did. I had a great weekend. And I'm just going to come on here and see how you guys are doing. See how everybody is doing. We've got... I'm doubling up this weekend, just like I did last weekend, so we'll go live a couple times this week before we kick it back into full gear. And, of course, for those of you guys who watched last week, we had some technical difficulties, so this Thursday is Bill Bragman. But today, I figured I'd get on and talk to you guys a little bit of kayak surfing and paddles, or paddling. I'm not an expert at either or. But I am a big fan of surfing. What's up? Yeah, perfect guy to come chime in because he loves to surf too. I figured we'd have just an open discussion about it. There's a lot of guys talking about it right now. I don't know why. So I figured, you know what? Let's see what's up. Luis, how you doing, brother? Let me get some of these. There we go. Goes a little bit of some surfing action, some highlights. Let a few guys kind of roll on, and maybe we can have an interesting discussion about it all. What you guys think? Troy, how you doing, man? How are you doing, Troy? It's all good, dude. It's all good. I'm new to this whole streaming thing, dude. So, you know, I don't really. We do it for sure every Thursday, but I kind of enjoy coming on here and just talking kayak fishing, dude. I love to talk kayak fishing. So, it's like, you know what, dude? I had a long weekend. I didn't even get a chance to go fish. So, and then I got on Facebook and sort of caught up with, you know, the feeds and stuff, and there was a lot of talk about, I think on the TKF forums right now, there's a little bit of talk about paddles and, you know, what people use, so I figured I'd reach out and ask you guys, well, what do y'all use? If you don't paddle and you're in a Hobie or some sort of propel system, we'll pair it up with a surf conversation or surfing conversation offshore, and you tell me how you guys handle the surf. So we'll... I guess sit back, relax, have a good conversation, and we'll see what happens, man. Very impromptu. Slot, what's up? How you doing, man? I love the video, dude. I haven't had a chance to share it, dude, just because this week I was in Houston. If you guys haven't checked out Slot City Fishing, these guys, they edited a real good video on that redfish kayak fishing tournament that we had. I guess it's been like 3 weeks now. And he did a real good job, man. So if you guys have a chance, I'll post it up somewhere. I need to share it. I just, like I said, I haven't had a chance. Yassine, yeah, dude, you've been asking about the stream, dude, for a good while. So now's your time, man. What's going on? Haven't had any luck on going offshore. Yeah, I mean, it's a builder, you know. I think for us that do it quite a bit. Oop, this isn't streaming, is it? Let's see, let me make sure we are good on this. Oop. Which I believe we are. Okay. I'll play a little video there. It's just some little highlights from the last. Some of them are old. That's old right there. And that's when I was back in the X13 on the Malibu. And just really kind of putting myself in it, feeling things out and seeing what I can and can't do. That's year 3. With the Viking 440, and the way it handled the surf was completely night and day from the X13, because it was actually much lighter. So, you know, some of these heavier kayaks, they'll boggle down on waves, and the waves will actually pass through you. But this one right here, dude, it was such a light kayak and such a fast kayak. Anything that pushes this thing is going to go unless you got telephone pulled, which is good and bad, man. You know, I think a lighter kayak is good on acceleration. It'll kind of get your momentum up. But too light can work against you, dude. I've seen some of these real light kayaks where their noses go straight up in the air, and they'll catch some air on a gnarly day, and then all of a sudden you got a kayak that's falling right back on top of your head, which is no bueno. Dude, are you serious? Do you guys really hear an echo? Man, dude. There's only one reason why I would have an audio echo, and it's because of this. So let's see if that works. The last time I had an audio echo, do I really? Gosh, gee darn it. What about now? I disconnected a few things. Oh, you know what? No, it shouldn't be that. Just turn your monitor? Turn down your monitor? I'm gonna have to come back and see what it sounds like. I don't have my speakers on or anything. What's up, Wagner Santana? How you doing? From Brazil, from way downtown. Yeah, we really shouldn't have an echo, but I'll double check that, man. I've got to fix that before we get Bill next time. Let's see. Let me check on a few things here. So to answer your question on PA, you're asking about. Oh, the mic is hearing something. It might be hearing my computer noise. Actually, yeah. Okay, I can understand that. Hang on. All right, what about now? Is that much better? Okay. I had the gain on a little bit. Maybe it was picking up a little too much. Let me turn this down here. There we go. Might have been picking up actually what I was hearing in the mic. So we might be good now. Okay. So this is check 3. If you guys are still hearing the reverb, please let me know. Your PA14, would you say would be good or fine for offshore? Man, dude, I'm so scared of PA14s, dude. Just because of what I've seen, whether it's here in Texas or even down into Florida. The problem with the PAs in general, man, and even the Outbacks, is they do take in a lot of water. There's a really cool video out where, I don't know if you guys heard this guy. He's an up-and-comer. Actually, he's doing really well on YouTube. MDMR or MDR something fishing. He took out the brand new Outback offshore. I don't know where he was at. I think he was in Houston, because I know for sure he's from Texas. He was with Living Waters, who I know. That's who he went with, because I'm assuming this guy doesn't have any. Well, obviously he doesn't have any experience going offshore, because Living actually sort of helped him out, and he's got a lot of experience. MDLR, yeah, that's the guy, yeah. So he has a new video out, man, and it's very interesting, man. I encourage you guys to go out and look at it. He takes the new Outback out offshore, I think, and you know, he was like, man, this would be, in his opinion, it was a gnarly day. Realistically, it wasn't, but it's easy to say that, especially when it's your first time going out. You know, things just look a lot bigger than what they are until you get comfortable. But that's not really the point. The point is that he was in a very decent day, a normal day for offshore, and he had to bilge pump the Outback, I think a total of 2 or 3 times. Don't quote me on that, but it was a few times. Once going out through the surf, once he was out there, and then another time, I believe, coming back. So he basically wanted to see how it felt. You know, he had been in the generation previous to it on the Hobie Outback. And here's what I think is wrong with it. I don't think it's taking in any more extra water than what the old Outback is. I think what's happening is the design is allowing more water to come up through the nose. And so, because, it's the old Outback, it had a lot of side, it was pushing a lot of water up front and on the side. So if you ever notice, if you ever see a guy or if a buddy, or if you even have an older Outback, not PA, Outback, it kicks out a lot of water. And the new one really doesn't. I mean, it does, but not as drastic as the old one. So I think what's happening, man, is it cuts through, yes, the water a little bit better. But Hobie still hasn't really fixed their hatching issues, man. They've had these issues for quite a while. So if any of you guys are getting that new Outback, just be really careful, man. Take a manual bilge pump at all times with you. It's just, those hatches just are not, they need to fix those, man, because eventually somebody's going to get hurt. And, I've been around a few of those that have gone under. I believe at the Extreme Kayak Fishing Series, we had a PA that it just took on too much water. We went out there with Robert Granardo, and I think if you guys go back and watch some of our videos, one of the last offshore videos that we filmed, it was called King After King, and we just got into some kings. Even he had the bilge pump out there, and it's not a bad kayak. It's just not designed for that particular environment. You need a very calm setting, or just be prepared to take on water and have a solution for it. So I encourage you guys to go look at that. I don't know him at all. MDLR Fishing. There you go. Thank you, Luis. Yeah, that's him. I don't know him, but he does have a very good video where I think a lot of people can take some note of some things, what he experienced out there. And just something to take a look at if you have not taken a peek at his channel. Yeah, exactly, Slav City, yeah. And the other thing is they moved, I talked a little bit about this earlier. The echo is back. Yeah, I don't know, dude. Not too sure. I'll system check a few things here shortly. I won't be on too long today. It could be with just the room in general, dude. I got some lights here, man. I don't know if it looks a lot brighter. I'm hoping. My birthday was this past weekend. My brother got me some cool lights, dude. So my dogs are yapping. If you guys can hear my dogs, I apologize. So what else? Yeah, so just be careful with those. I'm a little concerned about that design. See, what I think that they did, I know that they're trying to get a little bit more speed on those. And this is not like, I don't want this to turn into like a Hobie bashing, because I like Hobies. Hobies are great, especially the Revolutions. If I was to get a Hobie, I think it would either be a Revolution or a Compass. I love the Compass. I love it because it's a simpler design, and it's straightforward. It has everything you need, and it's a little bit of a drier hole, and it submarines through waves. It doesn't necessarily ride over them, so it'll chip off the edge of if you're going to hit a 5-foot wave, and if you can submarine through it and chip a foot off, and it'll feel more like a 4-foot wave versus a 5, if you hit it right. 4 or 5 foot wave can crash on you. If it does at the right time, it'll jam you in reverse, and good luck if you haven't built up enough momentum to punch through it, or it can just destroy you, punch you in the face, jam water up your nose, and you're just like, and you just sort of lose all train of thought there for a second. Yes. Hang on. Let's see. What are you guys saying here? You love me. Okay. Well, I love you too, Will. All right. It's Crazy William. I don't know who that is. Who's Crazy William? ASAP Fishing. What's up, dude? You've been around for a good while here, man. Yeah, so those are just a few things to sort of look out at. Now, as far as entry on a propel system like that, there's a few ways. Maybe some of you guys can chime in on this, just to help you guys out if you are thinking about how am I going to get back from a sloppy day, There's a few ways, dude. There's 3 ways that I know of. This is just paddling alongside a lot of Hobie guys and stuff. One of the ways is, of course, you can come in forward just like a traditional surf ski or kayak. It's a paddle kayak. But the bottom line with Hobie, man, is they just don't have the proper hole design. So you'll eventually, just like any other kayak, you're going to eventually lean one way versus the other. And the problem with those Hobies, man, is it's tough to broach properly. For one reason, they're just too wide, and it's tough to brace, man, on one side, especially whenever you have a fin down, what do you call the Mirage drive. If that thing is still down and you're broaching sideways, I mean, that's drag underneath you, man, and that just kind of messes with the whole dynamics of broaching, and can't really like say that I've experienced what it feels like when you're broaching with the Mirage drive down. Maybe Chris has, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna feel funky because it's basically drag. So going forward, like I think you can if you know what you're doing, for the most part on some of these Hobies, but there's just like a certain threshold where once you pass, I'm just gonna guess here, but like a couple foot of surf, chances are you're going to flip. Now, most of my guys that I fish with, they know automatically, like, they know when a wave is coming, so it's all about predicting it and looking back. They'll actually go forward on it and pump, boom, 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 go. And then as soon as they see a wave that they know is going to destroy them, they'll actually bail out, jump out, and grab hold of the back, and they pretty much become almost like a drift sock behind those Hobies. So that's one way that I've seen a lot of the older salts or the more experienced guys doing it. Believe it or not, coming in back in reverse is a popular way, but dude, you can get destroyed just as much coming in backwards, and some people are going to argue about that, but I think the worst feeling in the world, at least to me, dude, is having a kayak, me getting jammed backwards and having a kayak come down on me, landing towards your face. I would much rather get catapulted out than having a kayak come back at me. I feel like I would have a little bit more control as far as knowing where I want to land and not have all this gear just fall on top of my head, dude. I've been concussed once, so not like a full-on, like a bad concussion, but enough to where I lost some train of thought and I didn't even know what I was doing. So, there's just a couple things to think about. I know some of the guys throw drift socks. Mario, if he's out there listening, he's a big drift sock guy, man. But dude, be careful with that, man. Because the thing is if a wave here in Texas, sometimes our waves aren't clean. Actually, most of the time they aren't clean. So they're coming at you from like 2 different directions. So a drift sock is obviously gonna, when the momentum is pulling, the drift sock is gonna help straighten you out. But if you have another wave coming in diagonal, it's gonna offset everything, and you're gonna end up just turtling over. And what's going to happen once you turtle over is that drift sock is still going to be engaged. engaged. And, dude, it's going to take you forever to get back on the surf. So just be real careful with that. I think the best bet, man, is just to go forward and bail out, dude. Just rig to flip, have all your gear flush laid out. Rigging is important, I think, when it comes down to surf. More than flipping, rigging is important, making sure everything's broken down. There's no hooks, no weights, no rods sticking straight out, especially here in Texas because our guts are real shallow. So 9 times out of 10, if you flip on a gut and your rods are sticking straight up, like in your crates or what have you, I mean, those rods are probably going to get snapped. So just a heads up on stuff like that. Thinking about trading my Cuda 14 for a Viking Pro. Yeah, man, that wouldn't be a bad... a Cuda's a good kayak, dude. It's a heavy kayak, though. Is to feather the drive, pull the rudders. Okay, so Yak Monkey here. I think the best way for a Hobie, and he has experience doing this, is to feather the drive, pull the rudders up, and have your paddle ready to low brace slash stern rudder. So a lot of you guys here probably don't know like low and high brace movements. I have my paddle here, but I just don't have the room. I'll show you half of one. It's a 2-piece. This is a Warner Shuna, and that's a little weird. Something's crawling up my leg. And there's different moves that you can, so to make this as simple as possible, any kayak, when you're coming forward and you get hit from a wave and you're riding, depending on your rudder location, like for instance the Vikings, they have that rudder that's sticking out way in the back. Eventually that back wave, if it's big enough, it's going to pick up the back of your kayak to where that rudder is exposed and it's not in the water. So what happens is that once that rudder is not in the water, you pretty much lose 100% of control in the surf. And from there on out, your kayak is going to pick a direction. It's either going to start leaning. If you think of this like a surfer, like somebody, like a guy on a surfboard, how they come off waves and they're always going with it, sideways. Well, that's basically essentially what happens in a kayak, except that we can't ride them out. We can, but it depends on the environment where you're at. In Texas, they're so sloppy and they whitewash so quick. You end up riding these waves sideways. If not, you're pretty much turtling or flipping inside the whitewash. So you can actually, as long as you have a good kayak that has a good design for it, you can call what we call brace or broach. It's essentially using your blade and your body, and there's a low and a high brace, and you can lean in and actually surf the wave coming in sideways. You can YouTube broaching, kayak broaching, you'll get a better idea of it. But you're leaning, your angles and your leaning, and the way you position everything, it sort of determines if you're in a low or high brace, and how big the wave is will dictate all that. But that's what a lot of us do. Actually, well, you'll see right here. I should be playing this video for you guys while I'm talking. Let this play for a little bit. So you'll see, like right here, for instance. Let's sort of walk through this. I got destroyed right there, by the way. Alright, so this is without a rudder. And sometimes you can catch waves like that real pretty. Now, one like this, you see how it turned me to the left, well, my right, the screen's left. You use that blade to just kind of bring yourself right back out. And here's another example of one not being able to stay straight. And this kayak right here does have a rudder. Now, when you lean in, that back blade, this isn't broaching. This is kind of just using your paddle as an additional, and a rudder extension, if you would. These are broaching right there. And that other, I don't know if you can see that. Let me go back to it. Let's see. Let's go. Let me just show you something. Let's pause it right here. This on my left hand, basically what I'm doing there is I'm jamming that blade down to keep me from rolling, because I'm essentially trying. There's a sweet spot on all kayaks that do this, that are surfing sideways, and BL, yes, I have plenty of videos that show those. To answer your question, so we're gonna go over this one. That my left hand, or as you guys are seeing it probably on the right, my left hand is pressing down on the water, and I'm leaning. Now, once you find that sweet spot, you can sort of let up a little bit, but every kayak is different, man. You really got to understand and feel it out and flip your kayak and know where and how far to not lean and to lean. It's difficult to explain it over YouTube, but that's essentially what's happened. So I'm going to continue to play this, and you'll see me sort of ride it out a little bit. But that's what we mean by broaching down. And you can ride waves out, man. They'll eventually die out. And that is what we mean by broaching, sort of. Another thing, man, when you guys, I've been with me spitting. Whenever you're launching, this is the part where I've seen most guys that begin. Right here, when this wave is building, I would say, and I've even been out there with a couple of guides, and they're screaming at these guys, and they'll tell them 10 times, especially some of these guys in Hobie, you know, they'll tell them 10 times, like, okay, here's rule number 1. Keep your nose straight into the wave. And when the wave is curling, that's when you pump the most. And I kid you, it never fails, dude. At this point, guys are just, they start, like, their legs are kicking. If, for instance, if you're or doing this bit, and as soon as those waves build, everybody just, like, does this, like, oh my God, here it comes. And the Hobie guys will go if they're new, you know. And then they'll like, it's so weird, dude. I cannot even describe to you how many times I've seen guys just lock up. And that's like the biggest thing. You don't want to lock up because you need to basically punch through that wave like your life depended on it. Because if not, depending on how that wave curls and crashes on you, if you don't build that momentum, you don't have a fast enough momentum, it's what I call getting jammed. So in other words, your kayak is going to go from, you know, if this is the wave and your kayak is going, and right when it crashes, it's going to go from forward momentum to all of a sudden just going back. And most guys don't know how to handle that, and they'll freak out, and they'll just like lean one way, and all of a sudden it's like a bike going backwards with the wheels up front. You know, as soon as one little jerk like that, and you're turning in. So if you're new and you've never been through some somewhat mediocre surf, just remember that, dude. It's all about momentum, and whether you're paddling or pedaling, just go like your life depended on it, dude, and don't stop. Yeah. What's up, Matt? I thought the hurricane season was. All right, don't tell me there's a hurricane out there, dude. That's my worst nightmare, especially in my line of work. So, yeah, that's just a little bit of kayak talk. And really, I kind of even slowed down a little bit. I should have just continued to paddle, but I sort of felt out that I was building momentum there. Don't try that, by the way. That's just me playing around. So there's the leaning. I always tend to lean in like that. I don't never expect to surf in straight unless I know I'm ahead of the wave. So there's like a little baby broach for those of you guys who were wondering about that earlier. Let's see here. The Cuda 14. Yeah, man. Well, actually, yeah, the Viking Profish, the reload is really good. The one that you're seeing here is the 440. So when you say Profish, I'm not too sure which one you're referring to. There's a couple, you know. There's the reload and the 440. The 440 isn't. The reload is a popular one. That's the one that everybody has. Yak Monkey has one of those. And so does Matt. He's got one of those also. I still have my 440, which I like. It sits a little higher. It's different design. Very dry kayak, though. There's no hole access. Actually, there's one, and that's for internal rod storage. But outside of that, it's all, you can't even get inside the hole. It's all sealed off. So that was one of the reasons why I picked the 440, was because of that. It was like their first generation offshore design. But the reload, it has a lot more goodies. I think the seating on it is a little bit better. Much better circulation. You're going to start dinner, yeah. In Kingsville. Man, dude, that's basically all we're doing is, bathing fishing, man. Except for this past weekend. So you'll probably see me and Ram out there a lot if you fish out there, depending on where you like to fish. But yeah, that's, yeah. Yeah, that's the best. That's your best bet, dude. Jump in and swim. For sure. If you're in that kind of kayak, yeah. How long have we been on here for? 28, 29? All right, I didn't really want to go too far today. So yeah, this Thursday, man, if you guys have any questions for Bill Bragman, have them ready. I think we'll be fine this week. We won't have any lattice issues. One of the reasons we had an echo was because of this thing. And I'm going to go back and listen to this video once it's done. we had this as a hearing device. So what was happening was the mic was right here, and this was hearing us, and it was all inputting, so it was circulating audio. It's disconnected now, but it was an issue. And then whenever we found the issue, we disabled it, and it completely crashed every single USB driver that we have. so we ended up just, I didn't want to waste too much of Bill's time, man. He's a busy guy. And I said, Bill, let's postpone this for next week, man. We'll be a little. Let me figure out exactly what's going on, and then we'll figure. We'll bring you on next week. So he's got a very good story. Just to give you a little background on him, if you don't know who he is, he's a CEO or president of Yak Gear, and he started that company out in his garage, man, making leashes. And I think for somebody who has an idea. Whether it's fishing or kayak fishing or something completely different, I think he could be a good inspiration, man, for anybody who's trying to start something from scratch and maybe sees a hole or potential in the market. And if you take it forward, man, I think you may want to listen to what Bill has to say. He's an incredible guy. I've known him for, I think, 3 or 4 years now. I think 3 years. And, not very many presidents of companies you can just reach out and call, and he'll pick up his phone. But he's that kind of guy, So he's always been real cool. I'll take you guys one of these days in his headquarters out there in Houston. They have phenomenal, man, what they've been able to do in just a little over 10 years, man. They are now, well, they always have been the number one leading kayak fishing accessory company in the world. So we can learn a lot. We'll see how it goes. What'd you say, Matt? Hobie's telephone pole and vertical flip. Yeah. Well, they all. I've never been. It depends, man. Every kayak can telephone pole. It just depends on how the wave, how it hits it, how big the wave is. Unfortunately, the longer a kayak is, the more susceptible, at least here, it can be to telephone pole. You'll notice, man, like Sharkathon, for example, a lot of those guys, they'll actually be in short, like 8-foot kayaks, like little ocean kayaks. And the reason for that is because they actually maneuver a lot better. You can turn them a lot easier. And when you get pitched up on a smaller kayak, you can tend to correct that a lot quicker and not go nose in. It's not to say it can't happen, but you're just in a lot better shape in a smaller kayak, which everybody, that sort of goes against like what a lot of people believe in the kayak fishing world, especially us. They're like, if you ask this question, so what should I get? I'm going to go offshore kayak fishing. What size? Everybody's going to say like, oh, well, it needs to be at least 12 feet long, Well, those rules are kind of broken in the surf. That actually works against you a little bit. Of course, I think it's all based on design. But, don't underestimate a smaller short stock kayak, dude. Those things can run through surf, go over, and maneuver a lot better than a traditional offshore kayak. And that's where I would say the only real benefit to a smaller kayak would be, of course, nobody's going to go out there in an 8-foot kayak. You're going to be struggling long distance all day and putting in a lot of work. So the Viking Reload just lacks the storage for reels. Only thing I wish it had. Yeah. And unfortunately, man, what Vikings challenge, I feel like, is if they decide to implement that, it's going to take away what they're known for, which is that tackle pod. Unless they rig up some sort of, some sort of an additional whole act. It's tough, man. I don't think Reload can fix that. The 440 does have internal rod storage, and I think the Reload was the answer, but it took away. You had to give up the storage. In a kayak like that, you almost you just can't. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody out there who's going to think of it one of these years or days, or maybe they've got it in production now for all we know. But I think the bottom line is right now where we're at, they're not going to get rid of the pod storage. That's a huge selling point for Viking, and unfortunately it takes away from rod storage. So, yeah, telephone polling, yep. That sucks, dude. I hate it, man. I hate it when I see fish cruising. Like, I've had, actually, well, I don't know if Chris is still here, but he has a gnarly story, dude. He got hit by, I believe, a bull shark or something, or some sort of a shark when he was running bait, and knocked him out of his kayak, and I think dislocated his shoulder, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while since I've heard him talk about that, but yeah, man, that's my worst fear, dude, is seeing sharks like that in the gut, especially big girls, dude. Forget that, dude. It's creepy. And so my fear is when I telephone pole and I see that nose go in, and you can see the gut kind of come in visual range, and you're like, oh man, you already know what's coming. I've actually seen some jacks kind of like avoid me, and I'm just waiting for that day, dude, when a shark is too big to move, and I just land right on top of that, dude. That's gonna suck. So how was y'all's weekend, man? Did you guys do any fishing this weekend? Because I didn't. I was at the Renaissance Festival, which is pretty cool, by the way. If you guys are into like dressing up and just having fun, dude. The Renaissance Festival out there in Houston was pretty dope. It's pretty dope, man. I dressed up as a 300 warrior. It was cool. Except that, like, my costume was like one of the... I mean, I thought it was a cool costume, but I didn't realize how hardcore people were going to be there. So they were like in full-on legit attire. Like, it literally looked like you walked into... I don't even know what ages that would be. The medieval, like, I guess, ages. I mean, people were like 100% leather. Like, their belts were leather thick. They had daggers. They had, like, I was like, oh my God, dude. Looked like I got my costume out of a dollar store. These guys are just kicking butt right now. But it was cool. You guys have any questions before we wrap things up? This Thursday, it's just me today. But Ram will be here. It'll be me. Make sure I'm still streaming good. Yeah, it'll be me and Ram and Bill this Thursday. We'll start at 7 o'clock. He gave away, if you guys missed it, man, Ram gave away about $400 worth of gear last week, which I thought was crazy. So, not in a bad way, but crazy like in a good way. Like, that's pretty cool, man. He gave away, he reached 1,000 followers on his Instagram, so he reached out to some of his sponsors / pro staff stuff, and they donated about $400 worth of gear. And then the golden tube of glory, I think is what he called it. We had this big old, go back and watch it, it was pretty fun. We had a big old like bingo thing, and we were just turning and turning. We let you guys stop it, and when you guys stopped it, let me blow this up full screen. Those are all of our, there we go. Let's take that off. When you guys stopped it, he drew out the winner, and then he also drew out some decals of his Instagram handle, which is spooled_outdoors. So, thought that was pretty neat. Kind of made me like, man, how come I never did a giveaway? I should have done that a long time ago. What do you think about the GoPro 7 Black? Dude, I think they're legit, Mars. I'm glad I skipped out on the 6, dude. I'll tell you that much, because the 6 had some issues. I still rock the 5s, dude. I mean, you know, I don't record in 4K. All I need is some decent 2.7K. So all of our videos are 1440. But I will invest in the 7 because of the streaming. Streaming is like turning into a pretty big deal, man. Across the board, regardless of what industry you're part of. It's but the thing is like there's not a lot of options for it. So like, for instance, Facebook, I couldn't do all this like cool OBS stuff. Like, I couldn't put banners and integrate a little bit of Photoshop art with me cutting, you know, Bill out right here, which is like right here, and the Railblazer flag. I couldn't put like the agenda on Facebook. I couldn't do any of that, dude. But times are changing, man. Right now, the guys that are ahead of the game are YouTube, Twitch TV. They've always been. And Google. Well, Google's kind of like, Google has their own little thing where you can integrate into YouTube. But none of them, hardly, only Twitch and YouTube that I know of support OBS, which is what gives you like all these layouts and customization and stuff like that. Allows you to do all that. So I would love to have. See, I'm right now in the process. You guys are on a webcam right now, but I hate webcams. So I'm going to be using my DSLRs here pretty soon. I'm getting a capture card, hooking those up, but I'm still going to use this as like a secondary camera. So once we get this all kind of, and we just got some lights. If you guys tuned in earlier, I got some camera lights, some white lights, and once we get it all squared away, we're gonna have like different camera angles. It's gonna be pretty neat, dude. Because we have, we're gonna kind of involve everybody on this trip next year. This Laguna Madre trip that we're doing. It's gonna be roughly about 100-mile paddle, and it's basically kayak fishing to survive. We're gonna attempt to be the first group that we know of to actually make that paddle. So far, from what we've been able to research, some of the old salts have only been from Laguna to Baffin, Baffin to Langcut, or Bird to jetties. But nobody has actually gone from the JFK Causeway to South Padre Island, like, you know, where the Port Isabel, or whatever you want to call it, is. So it's like, this is pretty serious, dude, you know. You'll see, yes, I will announce a P.O. box here this week, if not next week. What's up, John Vasquez? How you doing, man? Marcus, what's up? Austin, Texas in the house. Big fat cobia. You got a cobia, dude? Did you really get a cobia? Show us some pictures, dude. Man, I've had a cobia all year. That's like one of my biggest. That's all that I've been really trying to like kind of go for, dude. Is a freaking cobia. And this guy got a cobia. Damn. Nah, I'm not going to get a green screen. I'm not going that crazy. Nah. No, man, actually, what we are going to do is we are going to soundproof this room. So all this will be black, and you're going to have, like, the little, you know, sound. I think that's sort of where some of this echo is also coming from. Let me check something here. So, you know, I think that's part of the problem. So we're really dressing this up to be like a little studio, man. We want to put a little chair right there, but we're going to have to rearrange it and have this webcam pointing to that. And I'd love to bring people here and actually interview them face-to-face versus just telephone, you know, which telephone's cool. I mean, I don't mind that. But it'd be nice to invite some guys over, man, and talk to some interesting people. So we'll see. We'll see how it all goes, man. We're just adding it in addition to everything that we do because, I don't know, I guess because we can. I have no idea. But I'm not getting a green screen now. That's Twitch mode right there, dude. And yeah, those guys are on a different level. They're on the next level. If you guys are wondering what's out there right now, I had 3 or 4 guys just recently message me asking what's out there. You're still able to go out there offshore and catch fish, man, but the kings they're spotty, and you're lucky if you even get one. I haven't got a good temperature reading. Did you get a good water temperature reading when you're out there, Yak Monkey? I've written a few articles on it. You know, basically the magic number is 70 degrees. That's sort of like, you can get them at 68 and 69 degrees. I've gotten one, and I think the water temperature was reading, it was floating between 68 and 69, but dude, that is like so rare. And that's coming out of fall going into, you know, the warmer part of the season, so, or winter, sorry. And that was a very early king. It was a shallow running king. And I think from what I've, through my experience, the way I feel at least, is early on you're probably going to find more kings cruising a little bit closer to shore, just because typically the surface temperature is a little bit warmer than it is out there. So without fail, I think I've caught for sure one, arguably two, right at 69, 70, which is still, it was bouncing under 70. But 70 degrees is sort of that like magic number where, all right, 70 degrees, these kings should be starting to roll in any minute. Once it falls under 70, they're basically cruising south. So just remember that. When you're going into the season and you're coming out of winter, the kings will be coming up north. They'll be cruising from the Yucatan, from warmer waters, and they'll peel off and they'll come up through the Texas coast. And then when we come back and temperatures start to fall, all of a sudden your king direction, they're either going out or coming. Most of them are coming south, and they're just kind of hugging the coastline, going back down to warmer waters. So snappers are aggressive. Yeah, snappers are out. Haven't seen too much on. I think Spanish still out there. Pretty sure they are. I saw Glenn hauling a bunch of snapper. Snapper too, but Spanish mackerel. He 2 weeks ago. So 72. Yeah, man. I mean, that's what it's all about, dude. I wish I would have done it earlier, but I never really got into it. Never really had the proper setup until now. And one of the biggest, not really complaints, but one of the things I would get messages on, all of us really, was they wish they could see more content, so we would normally do, man, really for 3 years, man, we would only do like 10 videos a year. We didn't really push out a lot of content. And of course with YouTube, content that's what pretty much it's all about, to build up your fan base and your following. So in the last 3 months, we've sort of just said, you know what, we need to figure out how to push out more content. But if we do like a full-on production thing, it takes about a couple of weeks, man, to edit that, and then we get it, and then we review it, and then we watch it probably about like 20 times to see if we see anything that we need to fix. And we always make a mistake on some. There's always, all of our videos have at least one or a couple of little things that we should have fixed. So that's why it takes us a while to edit them. And so we just figured, you know what, let's do it behind the scenes, where it's just like straight. It's like traditional fishing videos that you see right now on YouTube, where guys are just holding the cam and they're going out there and fishing and just nonstop talking. We would do that, but with a little bit more emphasis on what we're doing behind the scenes, whether it's opening up gear, packages, testing out new products that haven't even hit the market, which we do a lot of, and even scouting out some areas, man. Like I took you guys where we were catching all those big reds, all those bulls, man. If you guys saw, Ram got his, I think I'm already on number 6, and these are big reds, man. These are like in the mid 40s, dude. A couple of them that were out there that we missed, arguably about 50 inches, man. They're there. So it was fun to take you guys and show y'all an unedited version and just go out there and kind of have fun. A soft edit, I guess you could say. And then we added NLF Live, which I think we're going to do seasonally, and maybe do like 10 to 15 episodes and then cut it off. And then we'll do it again whenever we have time. But, it's a lot of work. Spanish snapper Kobe are still around. Ditch the steel leaders. Yeah. Well, there you go. There you go, if you guys are wondering. All right, well, I guess we'll see you guys Thursday, man. Not sure what we're going to give away Thursday, but we're going to give away something. Maybe I'll get with Bill. What software are you to use after all? For what? For editing videos or what I'm doing right now? If you're talking about what I'm doing right now, I use OBS. If you're talking about editing videos, I use 2. It depends on what I'm doing. I use Adobe Premiere, and I also have Sony Vegas. The disadvantages and advantages, well, Adobe Premiere takes a long time, but it integrates and works off of Adobe Photoshop. So you can do a lot more with it. But Sony Vegas, their brand new one that just came out, just changed the game on Adobe Premiere, because it allows you, one of the biggest differences, besides getting too technical, is Sony Vegas is like, it's quick to make a video. Like if you just want a quick video, boom, 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 and you're not going to be using After Effects, I don't know why you would even be using Adobe Premiere. You're like wasting your time. You could probably make 3 videos to your one, comparing Sony Vegas to Adobe Premiere. So if you're not using After Effects, if you're not using anything crazy, you should just, I would say, just basically stick with Sony Vegas. Now, going back to what I was saying about how Sony Vegas just kind of changed the game a little bit, they pretty much said, you know what, we want people to be able to make quick videos and not have the headache of Adobe Premiere, but they also want to be able to take something like a piece of their pie and integrate it on Sony Vegas. So what they did was they allowed After Effects or Adobe, so you can do your like After Effect on Adobe Premiere, which is usually what sort of takes like the longest time, and then you can bring it over to and import it to Sony Vegas, and then you can do your traditional editing, the stuff that really takes a while. So it's going to be interesting, man, to see what happens in the next year. Now, the newest Vegas that just came out, it's only been out for a little bit, so people are still kind of getting used to it, but that's what I use. The electric on the flats. The electric on the flats are on fire right now. Yeah, post down. Are you talking in regards to just overall fishing, right? Like the fish is on fire? Absolutely, man. This is the best time to fish. Every front. I just wrote if you guys want a little bit of tips, and I don't really write like advanced stuff, dude. I try and help like the recreational fishermen. I write for the Saltwater Angler magazine, so does Ram. And one of the things I do is I just give very blunt information, stuff to help those guys. Because a lot of the stuff, once you get into advanced stuff, at least the way I feel, a lot of it's kind of theory, and this is what worked for me this year, and I'll talk about that to other guys that I know that are pretty well seasoned, just because I don't want to confuse people. So if you are just one of those guys that, I maybe just have a couple of years of fishing under my belt, period, I try and cater to those guys. And if you guys are struggling with either redfish, flounder, or trout this time of year, I just wrote the article for Saltwater Angler magazine, and I basically just separated the two. So if you want to catch redfish, I'll give you a couple things to think about and a general area to go fishing. It's very simple. Flounder, same thing. I kind of told you guys what they're doing, what kind of water they're hanging around, and then flounder. I kind of labeled it as like the kryptonite for most kayak anglers, seasoned and unseasoned, because I know a lot of kayak anglers that they struggle on flounder. But the reason a lot of people struggle on flounder this time of year is because they don't understand like the fish cycles and the moving and the breeding and the spawning and all that. So they end up going and trying to like fish these areas where it would be a good area later on in the year, but not right now. So in light of flounder, I'll leave you guys with this. In flounder, you got to remember they're spawning right now, so they're basically heading out. I don't know if you guys know this, but flounder, whenever they spawn, they need to go out in a few hundred feet of water, dude. It's pretty interesting to read up on about flounder. And so right now they're all gathering up. I think the ones that are moving out are at least 2 to 3 years old. So if you catch any flounder back in some areas in flats, 9 times out of 10, those are just either flounder that haven't got the message and moving along with the rest of them, or he's going to be a very small flounder, a young one, under 2 years old. So most of the flounder right now, man, you need to basically position yourself near an outlet of a channel. So Packer Channel, for instance, we see you guys all the time posting up stuff. Got these kind of close to or a drop off of the channel, and that's what they're doing, man. They're going out to spawn. So there should be masses of them. Now, the reason that they're hard to catch is because they're very inconsistent. Because they're moving every front that comes in, there's going to be some shuffling of flounder. So typically when you find them and you're on them and you're just, boom, ringing them up, And then you take a 3 or 4 day break, and you're like, all right, let's go back. I know where the flounder at. And then you go and take your buddies there, and you skunk, and then they're making fun of you. It's because they're moving, and they're not there anymore. So it's kind of a cat and mouse game right now with flounder. Just an FYI. Oh, the electric towers. Yeah, dude. So, yeah. Those are good. That's a good area, dude. Like Kate's Hole and all that stuff. It's a good area. Especially this time of year, man. That's sort of like from Kate's Hole, from those power lines all the way to the right. We're spilling the beans here. My good buddy Tino kind of labeled it the best. He sort of, I used to always fish back there. He calls that kind of like the nursery. And it's true. Like, you can always find, there's a lot of good fish. Not a lot of big fish, but there's a lot of good fish this time of year. So your reds will average over there probably about 22 inches. Every now and then you'll get a bull. Probably not right now at this very minute, but well, I don't know. Yeah, you probably could. But the majority of the fish back there are just kind of like a lower slot. But there's a lot of them. A lot of them. Texas Slam. Yeah, I could do that. That's something to do. I'd have to cover some ground, though. The problem is I know where to get good trout and good reds, and they're nowhere near where the flounder are going to be at right now. I can get some respectable stuff, but not anything that I would like to make a video on. I guess I could do something like that. That might be kind of cool. Have fun with it. Maybe a little behind the scenes on that. I don't know if I would do a full-on episode on ASAP. ASAP's just recruiting right now. He's recruiting for his channel. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. I'll make it interesting. I'll sort of describe everything I talked about as far as flounder. And then we'll talk about what the trout are doing right now. They're very hungry, dude. If you go out there and you catch trout right now, dude, you're going to notice, number one, two things you're going to notice about them. They're fat, and a lot of them are in dirty water right now, or heavy vegetation. And, dude, they're hitting hard. They're very aggressive right now. But it's not going to last forever, dude. So now's the time to get on it. And then your winter fishing starts. Your bait starts getting lethargic. Then you got to start switching up your tactics, your presentations, and the way you work your lures, the type of lure. I always talk about matching the hatch. So, think about those things if you do plan on fishing the winter. And if you haven't been successful in the winter, like just read around, ask questions, man. You'd be surprised what you find. And then it makes it just that much fun, dude, to be able to like adapt to all the seasons and stuff. So, all right, guys. Well, I don't want to take too much of your time. We're already going on 1 hour. So, hopefully you guys got a little something. I didn't want to open up paddle talk and surf talk as like this is how you do it. It's not really what it's about. It's just what I do and what others do. I mean, we got a little bit of info from some of you other guys on what y'all do. And maybe you guys picked up on something. Hopefully y'all picked up a little bit of info on that Outback. Just be careful with it. If you guys didn't pick up, there's some critical information that we discussed about on the Outback. So when this video stops and it loads, I will put some like numbers, some times on the description, and I'll label them like Hobie Outback discussion or paddle discussion or surf discussion, so that you guys don't have to sit there and watch an hour video. You can actually just click on the numbers and go straight to that area of discussion, because nobody wants to sit back there and watch an hour discussion. Thanks, Yasin. I appreciate it, man. I hear all you guys out there from Brazil. And there was somebody else who was from somewhere out of the States. Thanks for subbing, Mars. Yeah. For show. Alright, guys. Well, we'll see y'all Thursday. Remember, Bill Bragman is going to be here Thursday. If you guys have any questions for him, have them ready, dude. Be ready to ask him, and I'm going to have Ram or myself write down all the questions that you guys are asking live. And once we're done with our interview, we'll give you guys a shout out. And Egypt, oh dang! And we will let you guys ask those questions and let's see how Bill responds. So, from Egypt, that's way out there. My mom just came back from that general direction. All right, guys. Well, y'all have a wonderful night. Thanks for tuning in. Hope y'all had a wonderful weekend. Y'all be safe. I'm hungry, so I'm going to go eat. Later.